McMaster saying basically the same thing. Is there a plan to back up this tough talk? Joining us now is Congressman Sean Duffy of Wisconsin. I hope Easter was good to the family. Rebirth and renewal, my friend.
That is right, my friend. Good to see you this morning. Happy Easter.
So these concerns about brinkmanship, tough talk on North Korea, don't test us or else, do you agree?
Well, first, I think we have to take a step back, Chris, and recognize, as you've reported, that, Obama and Bush and Clinton have been unsuccessful with deterring North Korea on their march for nuclear weapons and now their march on ballistic missiles, which could be intercontinental ballistic missiles. So I think it's appropriate that the Trump administration take a second look at the past strategy, what hasn't worked, and try to push the envelope, because if North Korea does have intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads, that truly endangers the United States of America. You have a rogue radical regime. And so I think to push China to engage, to push North Korea that they disassemble their arsenal, I think is the appropriate strategy. And tough talk, again, talking about economics and diplomatic pressure, is the right approach. And I think Trump sitting back and doing nothing would be a mistake. And this kind of engagement, the change of course, I think is the right approach.
I hear you. It's a little bit of a mixed message, just trying to understand the clarity of purpose.
Yeah.
Soft power, diplomacy, use your leverage, China, deal with Iran and Pakistan. They're going to have a play in here as well. Do something. But this is something more than that, don't you think, Congressman? Saying, hey, if you test us, look at Syria. Look what we just did in Afghanistan. Don't do it.
Right.
McMaster saying it's coming to a head. That doesn't sound like soft power. It sounds like a potential promise of hard power, military power.
Well, I think
would you agree with that move, a preemptive strike?
Well, I think what this is an all of the above strategy. We will try all tools that we have at our disposal to make sure we disassemble North Korea in the sense that they're not a threat to the United States of America. And you never want to limit yourself. And if you look at what President Obama did, in essence, not engaging with the rest of the world, a strategy of leading from behind, the strategy that you travel around the world and you bow to foreign leaders. Trump was elected to not only be tough on economics here back at home, but also to be tough globally, to make sure that we don't have these rogue nations, whether it's North Korea or ISIS or Iran, walking over the rest of the world or the United States of America. And so I think, as one of your commentators earlier said, Trump is unpredictable. And that's a good thing when you're trying to navigate and negotiate a deal. And so, yeah, no, I think this approach is right, and I guess time will tell. But I would say, Chris, do we want to get into a nuclear, not nuclear, but a military conflict with North Korea? Can those things unravel quickly? Absolutely. We should proceed with caution. But again, you don't take anything off the table.
The idea of why Trump was brought to power, you make a good point there. For most people, the pressure was domestic. Change the economy, change the political culture, do something for me and my family. This does seem to be an interesting pivot away from that, this recent spate of foreign involvement. Some see it as a political distraction. How do you see it?
Well, I think President Trump is trying to keep his promises. So one, he is looking at the economy back at home, whether he's meeting with business leaders or union leaders. He is working on securing the border. He's trying to keep America safe. But he also told us that he was going to build up our military, that he was going to bomb the snot, he probably used a different term, out of ISIS. Listen, I think whether you look at what's happening militarily or you're looking at what's happening domestically, I think President Trump is keeping his promises. And for the most part, this is a strategy of putting America first. Whether you have ISIS and its threat to America or North Korea and its nuclear weapons and its intercontinental potential ballistic missiles, all of those are risks to our country, and his engagement is keeping America, I think, more safe than sitting back and saying, we're going to take what the world brings us, as opposed to, no, we're going to actually engage and make sure I, as the president, keep America safe.
Well, 88 days in, you have to be fair in terms of the short period of the relative presidency. The outcomes of keeping the promises is what he'll be measured on, and that's where he's been light so far. But again, it's early. One of the things he could do is set a different tone in terms of disclosure, transparency. He has said he would, and ever since the tax pledge, it's gone sideways on him. Now you have protests about the taxes. He's saying, look at who's paying for those protesters. The issues are real. Not wanting to give out the White House guest log. That's a real transparency issue. Why does President Trump fight these types of measures, Congressman?
Chris, you and I have disagreed on a number of things on your show over the past several months, but this is one point that we agree on. I think transparency in government matters. I think President Trump, as I've stated months ago during the campaign, should disclose his tax records, the logs of who comes into the White House. I think that should be public knowledge. Why should we be afraid to disclose that information to the American people? I think it casts a cloud over what's actually going on in the White House when we want sunlight, we want transparency. And I think the president, whether you paid little in tax or a lot in tax, I think you're better off just laying out the tax record. I mean, I was clear whether it was Hillary Clinton's emails or it was Donald Trump's taxes. Transparency for the American people with their president is key. And listen, I think the president in this regard has fallen short.
Well, you certainly know more about Hillary Clinton's emails now than you do about Donald Trump's taxes. And it seems he agrees with you, because back in 2012, he tweeted at President Obama saying, hey, why are you wasting all this money putting out the White House guest records? You should put them out. Right. And he argued about transparency. Right. But we'll see what he does with it. Congressman, thank you for joining us after Easter. Appreciate it. You got a final point you want to make?
Well, no, I was going to say, listen, I think that when you don't disclose the tax records or the White House logs, it distracts from the real mission of the economy, or keeping the border safe, or your engagement globally with ISIS in North Korea that keeps Americans safe. And I think these are all issues that matter to the American people. But let's talk about that. Let's not talk about why you're hiding tax records or you're hiding those logs. I think it's a distraction from the real issues that matter to the American people.
Strong words, Congressman Duffy. Appreciate you being on New Day.